On the live stream on Sunday, which is back up by the way, I'll put a link at the end, we were looking at 4 cases, 2 where the mothers were truthful and 2 where they seemed to be lying. Well, one definitely lying and Candace being the other one. But the first one we looked at was little Cleo in Australia. I thought it was interesting to see the behaviour panel looking at this before Cleo was found. The interview and analysis was about 10 days into a search. It's a bit of an eye-opener looking back now. But anyway, the same night, last Sunday, 60 Minutes Australia aired their interview with the parents. I'll link it in the description, it's fab. I finally got a chance to watch it last night. I think they paid about $2 million for it, which is great for the family, brilliant. I'll talk about that at the end, what they're doing with the money. But what a story, 18 days, incredible. Gives hope to anybody with a missing child, really. Even in Sunday's live stream, there was people watching who I guess were not familiar with the case, saying that the stepdad was Dodge and he was involved. They didn't like his behaviour, stuff like that. Well, guess what? He was the very same in this interview. Anyone who does go on to watch this will recognise the behaviour from both of them from past interviews. He's very passive, mumbles a bit. She takes the lead, glances at him a lot, especially when she's speaking on behalf of them or using we. She uses the word disgusting a lot. I know one person on the behaviour panel had a big issue with that, but it's just a culture and how they use that word in Australia. Cleo seems to be doing good, which is amazing to see. She has ups and downs, good days and bad days, but considering what she went through, she's doing great. They briefly talked about Terence Kelly, the fellow who was arrested for doing it at the start, and how he was following one of the mother's social media accounts. So he was looking at her, begging for help and begging for her daughter back. Cleo said she was locked in a room, and the police told the parents that the house is pretty much the same as we've all seen on social media. They didn't see anything different, but it's the same. And you can see from looking at that, like, this creep wanted a real life little doll. That's what he wanted. They ran through the story. They said Cleo was very excited to go camping that weekend. She took her bike. They chose that spot because there was a bit of a road there that she could actually use the bike. They got to the campsite at 6:30, set up, had dinner. Cleo had some marshmallows and went to bed. Normal stuff. The tent was 2 separate spaces separated by a tin sheet. It was noisy, very noisy between the wind and the waves. It's not the quietest area. Cleo woke up about 1:30 and asked for some water. Ellie gave her some water and she went back to sleep. That was it. That was the last moment of normality for this family. Ellie woke up at 6:30, looked over on Cleo's side of the tent. It was open, she was gone. They were shook, panicked, started walking around, shouting. She said in her head she knew she was gone, but her heart was still hopeful that she was just going to come back, that she just wandered off somewhere. And it took a few minutes, she said, for her head and her heart to kind of align, and that was when the complete sinking feeling, and she called 000, the 911 of Australia. She knew, obviously, she didn't leave by herself. She knew someone who had her. She knew there was at least one person knows, because her sleeping bag was taken and there was no drag marks at all from the sleeping bag. It wasn't as if Cleo got out and dragged her sleeping bag along the sand. She was lifted out. And this is really where we start to learn some new details that we didn't know before. Their own tent, their own side of the tent had been opened as well, a small bit. So it looks like Terence opened their side of the tent, looked in, seen the parents were sleeping on that side, or he was on the wrong side before he went around to Cleo's side. They knew very little, they still know very little. Police don't tell them much and still don't. But they did find a footprint inside the tent from when he stepped in to take Cleo. They had that footprint. I'm not sure how they could tell the difference between Jake and Ellie's feet, but obviously he must have having shoes on that didn't match theirs or something. And from everything what we know, and from what they know, it was just a case of wrong place, wrong time. He wasn't there when they were setting up the tent. He came afterwards. It was her pink bike, the police told her. This was an opportunistic crime, and he seen the pink bike outside the tent. They went to bed and left the pink bike outside, and that was all he needed to know that there was a little girl in there. That was it. The police were there within minutes, and very quickly one of the biggest searches in Australian history was underway. The police were very upfront in telling them the odds aren't great. They knew, and they were made well aware, that in most cases the child is killed within 3 to 6 hours. And they said they were telling them this because they just didn't want to give them false hope. They asked them not to post on social media, but after 24 hours missing, Ellie couldn't take it anymore. She said it was the only thing that she could do, so she started posting on social media, trying to spread the word, trying to get her daughter's face out there. She talked about how powerless she felt. She wasn't allowed search. The police banned them from searching, so that was the only thing that she could do. After about 4 days at the blowholes, they ended a lot of the searches that were there, a lot of the sea searches, and Ellie said she just burst out crying. She didn't want to leave that area at all. And at this point then the interviewer jumps in and asks, like, is this where you started to lose hope? Did you ever lose hope? And very, very quickly the two of them snap back. No, not at all. They never lost hope. 6 days into it, the search party started packing up where they were camping, and they left. She said she didn't want to leave, but there was nothing there. She wasn't seeing people searching anymore. They were told to go home. The drive back was the most empty, numb moment of her life, she said. Their lives. And all their hope now was with the homicide police. This is when the forensic team then came to the house. They didn't care. They gave them the keys. They encouraged her. She said she was delighted the fact that the police were looking into it and doing everything they could. Maybe they might find something there, or maybe someone was stalking little Cleo. But this really, really is where the abuse online started to intensify, when people online seen the pictures of the police searching their home. And they got some vile messages. They showed some of them, but they were holding back a bit. I've seen a lot worse. People were convinced Jake had something got to do with it. And bizarrely, they still do. He still gets messages to this day. And I even seen that Sunday. People were jumping in, be like, no, he's something got to do with it. He doesn't at all. Like, he was a bit casual about the online abuse. He said he was just ignored it. He didn't open the messages and just stayed off social media. Ellie, on the other hand, said she opened every single message. Social media was the only thing that she could do. She got lots of positive ones as well, but they were kind of drowned out by the negative ones. The police, and this is something I didn't know before, collected 17 tons of rubbish for over 600 kilometres of the highway and sieved through every piece of rubbish looking for clues. I don't think they found anything. It was mainly the CCTV, phone data, there were satellite images used as well. Ellie was all over social media pleading for help. She took lots of abuse, but she just drove on. She was desperate. 17 days into it, she said they were at their complete bleakest. Didn't give up hope, but were in a bad spot. It's interesting here that Ellie calls out that it was Melbourne Cup Day. So I wonder, is it a feeling of Australia's moving on, people are kind of carrying on with their lives, but I don't know where my daughter is and everyone's going to forget about her. Went to bed, never felt worse. Next thing, 1 a.m, her phone starts ringing. She said it was the scariest phone call of her life because she knew it was something. It was either good or more than likely it was bad. But it wasn't, it was good. They found her. Here's the audio again of them finding Cleo, because it's nice there.
I got it.
Hey, Bobby.
Bring the camera in.
Come here. I got you, Bobby.
What's your name?
You're alright.
What's your name, sweetheart?
My name is Cleo.
Your name
You're all right,
Cleo.
Bobby.
Hello, Cleo.
They put Cleo on the phone with her. She was happy, just saying, hi mommy. Ellie couldn't believe it. She was smacking Jake, trying to wake him up. He was in shock when he woke up, but he could hear Cleo's voice on the other end of the phone, and he was just asking, he was like, is it really Cleo? Is that really Cleo? And that was it. She was found just 7 kilometres from their home. They knew nothing about the raid, weren't expecting the call, no idea what was going on with the police and the activity that was happening there. She talks about rushing to the hospital and wanting to rush through the door, but she had to wait outside because of COVID restrictions and stuff like that. Next comes something I didn't know. We all know the picture. You all know the picture of Cleo in the bed and what a happy picture that is. And the first time you seen that picture, you probably couldn't believe it. But Ellie and Jake talk about that moment that they turned and saw Cleo in the bed. And the first thing that they noticed was her hair. Her hair had been cut and dyed, which is obviously creepy. And most people probably didn't realise it looking at that picture, but she said her heart sank. And it kind of just took some of the joy out of the reunion, because you're wondering then what happened. Like, Cleo still doesn't really understand. He did tell her that he was babysitting her because her baby sister was sick. He said that's why she's with him, so that her mummy and daddy can look after her baby sister. And that's all it took. That's all it took for her to accept it. Why would she doubt him? Why would a child doubt the information an adult has given them? He tried to dye her hair pink, I think. Cleo talks a little bit about this, but she's a lot of it blocked away, and there's no pressure and probably not even necessary to try and make her remember any of this. Her time is a bit mixed up. She was up at 1 a.m. when they found her. She didn't really know if it was day or night. She was kept in that house for 18 days, wasn't moved anywhere else but maybe in 1 or 2 rooms in that house. She's had nightmares since coming home, obviously, can be expected. They don't close any doors. Cleo doesn't like closed doors, so they leave all the doors open, all the lights on. She doesn't talk about Terence, the guy that took her, and they don't push her, like I was saying, because they don't... I think they don't want her to relive it, so they don't ask her anything about it. Sometimes she might say something like, I left my necklace in that other house, but they just want her to forget about it. because she's a different person now. She has new fears, sleepless nights that she shouldn't have. And they said they're still getting people attacking them on social media. And like I was saying, I seen a Sunday, which is incredibly sad. They're leaving their home and they're going travelling in a camper van around Western Australia. They're never going to stay, obviously, in a tent again. But it looks like they're using maybe the money from this interview and stuff like that to really give the kids a childhood full of memories and go travel, get great experiences. It's great to see. It's rarely you see TV stations or magazines paying big money for an interview and you're happy, you're delighted, you're like, go on, you deserve that money. Go enjoy yourself. It's a good interview. I enjoyed it. I covered the main points there, but if you have an hour and a lot of patience for ads, go check it out. I found it interesting that the police were so upfront in telling them that after 6 hours in most cases, she's dead by now. Every day they were telling them that the odds were shrinking. And the odds are already tiny. But did it make a difference? Did they lose hope? Not once. They can't. That's all you have. Go look at Michael Vaughan's mother and her gut-wrenching pleas. She's a broken woman, but has she lost hope? Not a chance. And it's the same with Summer. So many people are invested in that, and most people think she's passed and died in some way. But what if she didn't? Could she be alright? Could a Terence Kelly type have her? The odds of finding someone after 18 days and the odds of finding someone after 6 to 8 months aren't as different as you might think. Once you go past that first 2 or 3 days, the odds are already desperate. So don't give up hope. Don't give up hope in Michael. Don't give up hope in Summer. There's a chance. That chance might be tiny, but it's still there. There still is that hope. Unfortunately, it's the hope that kills you. So hopefully both families will get some sort of resolution soon. Thank you very much to Angels Becca for joining the YouTube membership yesterday. And thanks to all my patrons for your kind words on the latest podcast. Have a good day. Good luck. God bless. Thanks for watching. Please sub if you didn't already.